Hello. So, as many of you know, I am an English minor at UC Berkeley, and today I'm just going to talk about how to close read texts. What I have here is Mont Blanc by Percy Shelley. I'm going to close read the first stanza of Mont Blanc. And basically what close reading is exactly what it sounds like. You're reading the text very closely, you're looking at how the text achieves the effects that it does. By analyzing things such as diction, which is word choice, syntax, which is sentence structure, and alliteration, which is the repetition of consonant sounds. For example, in the tongue twisters, you often have alliteration. She sells seashells down by the seashore. That repetitive S sound. And close reading can really help you out as a writer because it shows you how the author, whatever text you're reading, achieves the effects that he or she does. And it makes you a lot more conscious of what you are reading. And you'll start to develop a better appreciation of the text. Especially in poetry. Before I took my romantic period English course, before I took that course, I didn't really appreciate poetry, but when I started close reading, I started to see how subtle these little things in text really are, and I developed a greater appreciation for romantic poetry. So, anyways, Mont Blanc by Percy Bysshe Shelley. So I'll just start off by reading, and as I read, I'll just make comments. The everlasting universe of things flows through the mind and rolls its rapid waves. So even just within the first two lines. When you're close reading, it's a good idea to mark off words that you find very interesting or unusual. That's your spidey senses telling you that there's something interesting going on here. The word everlasting and universe just conjures images of something really, really big, something really large and beyond yourself, which is really key to the Romantic period, which is where this poem comes from. It's from the Romantic period. Because the Romantic period is really focused on the sublime, this feeling of being unable to comprehend the awesomeness of the universe around you, of maybe feeling small, and you are in awe of the beauty of the things around you. It's something really not comprehensible, something extremely vast beyond yourself. So just that, those two words, everlasting universe, ties into that theme. Flow through the mind and tolls its rapid waves. So I once wrote an essay about the effect of water and the movement of water throughout this poem. And as you keep reading, you'll just find images of water over and over again. In fact, every time that I highlight in blue is when I'm noticing water within the poem, and it's almost within every single line, like ice gulfs, cloud, ravines, vast rivers, feeble brooks. And I wrote my essay about how the movement of water and how it moves in all these various directions can be very overwhelming, and it gives you the sense of the sublime. There are waterfalls. When you think of a waterfall, it's like you're going up into vast heights, but then suddenly you leap forever off of this waterfall, and you're brought down to the lowest depths. And this is something you can definitely write about when you're close reading and you're writing an essay. If the text has any notes, it's good to take a look at those notes. So here, the everlasting universe of things flows through the mind and tolls its rapid waves. Now dark, now glittering, now reflecting gloom. Just this transition from darkness to light to darkness is something very confusing. And these sudden movements within the poem of the water, these sudden changes between darkness to light to darkness, it can be jarring. It can be very, very jarring. Now lending splendor, where from secret springs, there's alliteration here, the S sound is being repeated. The source of human thought, its tribute brings. The word tribute could be like an offering. If you've watched The Hunger Games or read the books, you know what tribute means. But I believe a tributary is a referral. It also means a stream or a river or something like that. And it's very interesting that he would use the word tribute as opposed to something else. That's an example of looking closely at diction or word choice. Of waters with a sound but half its own. Why is it only half its own? Well, right now I don't know, but I could analyze that. Such as a feeble brook will oft assume in the wild woods, alliteration, among the mountains lone, where waterfalls around it leap forever. That's a very interesting image, because waterfalls don't quite actually leap. I'm not quite sure that would count as personification, but waterfalls are really stationary. It's the water that's leaping, or the water that's moving, but why are you describing it as leaping as opposed to falling? Why is the water leaping as opposed to falling? That's something you can also analyze. That's also diction right there as word choice. And just using the word leaping, it's something very active as opposed to if you're falling. You're taking a leap off of something. You're actually putting yourself into that motion. You're actually propelling yourself forward. Where woods and winds contend in a vast river, over its rocks ceaselessly bursts and raves. A lot of alliteration down here. You could even break down this poem and start talking about maybe just the S sound and what effect it has on the reader within the poem. Over its rocks ceaselessly bursts and raves. Ceaselessly kind of ties in with the idea of something being everlasting. There's just a sense of things being eternal, of continuing on, of moving forever within this everlasting universe of things within the poem. And you could definitely talk about motion, this constant motion within the poem. Just one last thing. When you're close reading, you're looking at things very closely. You're analyzing little things like this, and taking notes is definitely a way to go about this. But you also have to tie it into the entire text as a whole. So while you're analyzing these things, you have to form some kind of thesis or some kind of argument. So what I would advise you to do is read through the text, take note of things that you find are interesting, and based on what you've observed within the text, form your thesis after you've looked at the evidence. Instead of doing it the other way around, because then you'll just be sort of analyzing the text for the evidence that you need to support the thesis that you wrote first, and that's not the way that you should do it. Like, if you go to a crime scene, you don't start accusing people right away. You look at the evidence first, and then you form your argument for why a certain person is the criminal. That's basically how it works. Alright, so I hope this was helpful, and I apologize if this video ran a bit too long, but I really want to give you an example of how you would close read. Oh, Mont Blanc is a wonderful poem, by the way. I definitely recommend that you read it.